The roar of motorcycles echoed down a lonely Texas highway that summer afternoon. But it wasn't the engines that stopped the riders cold. It was a sound barely audible over the wind. A soft, broken cry coming from behind a gas station dumpster. When they looked closer, they saw her. A little girl no older than 6, sitting in the dirt, clutching a torn teddy bear, tears mixing with dust on her cheeks. The moment those bikers walked toward her, their lives and hers changed forever. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more true, emotional stories that remind us that kindness and courage still exist, even in the most unexpected places. The sun beat down on the cracked highway asphalt, the kind that shimmers like molten glass in the Texas heat. It was mid-July, and the air was thick with dust and gasoline. The Iron Vows Motorcycle Club was returning from a weekend charity ride, a brotherhood of 6 men who had more heart than they cared to admit. Their leader, Jack Monroe, was a big man in his 40s, rough around the edges but known to every small-town kid as the Gentle Giant. Beside him rode Diesel, Manny, Ray, Hunter, and Doc, each of them hardened by life but softened by loyalty. They weren't outlaws. They were veterans, truckers, and mechanics who rode for charity, visiting small towns to raise money for children's hospitals. That day, they had stopped at a run-down gas station just outside Abilene to fill up and grab cold water before heading home. The place was nearly empty. A dusty convenience store with a flickering neon sign and one old man working behind the counter. As Jack stepped out of the shop with a bottle of water, he froze. Somewhere behind the building he heard it, faint but unmistakable. A child's cry. He turned his head, eyes narrowing. "You hear that?" he asked Manny. Manny took off his sunglasses and listened. "Yes, sounds like a kid." Without another word, they walked around the side of the building, boots crunching against gravel. The rest followed, curiosity quickly turning into concern. Behind the gas station, next to a pile of old tires and an overflowing dumpster, they found her. A little girl sat on the ground, her knees pulled to her chest, sobbing quietly. Her clothes were dirty, a small pink dress smudged with mud, and she clutched a stuffed bear missing one eye. Her hair was tangled, her shoes mismatched. She couldn't have been more than 6. Jack crouched down slowly so as not to scare her. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said softly. "You okay?" The girl looked up with tear-streaked cheeks and shook her head. I can't find my mom." Diesel's brows furrowed. "How long have you been here?" She sniffled. "Since yesterday." That hit them hard. A kid alone at a gas station, overnight. Something wasn't right. Jack took off his denim vest and gently draped it over her shoulders. "What's your name, little one?" "Emily," she whispered. "Emily, my name's Jack. These are my friends. We're gonna help you, okay? You don't have to be scared anymore." She nodded weakly, hugging the bear tighter. Manny knelt beside her. "Where's your mom, Emily? Do you remember what happened?" The girl looked down at the dirt. "Mom went inside the car with a man. She said she'd be right back, but they drove away and never came back." The bikers looked at each other, their stomachs twisting. Ray muttered, "That's messed up." Doc, who used to be a paramedic, handed Emily a small bottle of water. "Here, drink this. You're safe now." Jack's voice was steady but firm. "We're calling the sheriff." Diesel nodded and went for his phone. But before he could dial, Emily tugged on Jack's hand. "Please, don't call the police yet." Jack paused. "Why not?" Her voice cracked. "Mom said the man doesn't like police. He'll hurt her if they find out." Now the situation had gotten even more serious. Jack looked at the others. "All right. Nobody's hurting anyone. But we need to find her mom." They loaded Emily into the shade near the van, gave her a sandwich from the gas station fridge, and tried to get more details. She told them her mom's name was Sarah, that they were traveling from Houston, and that the man who drove off wasn't her dad, just mom's friend. Jack clenched his jaw. He'd seen enough broken families in his time to recognize the signs. He called the local sheriff anyway, but gave it time, choosing his words carefully. He reported a missing woman and child without mentioning names yet. While waiting, the bikers took turns talking to Emily, keeping her calm. Manny found an old coloring book in the store and a pack of crayons. Soon, Emily was sitting on the curb, drawing tiny flowers while the big men who looked like thunderclouds tried not to cry watching her. Then something strange happened. An hour later, an old pickup truck pulled into the lot, speeding, dust flying everywhere. A tall man with greasy hair jumped out and stormed toward them. "Hey, "You with the bikes," he shouted. Jack stepped forward, his size enough to make anyone think twice. "Something I can help you with." The man's eyes darted toward Emily. "Yeah, that's my kid. What the hell you doing with her?" Emily froze, gripping the teddy bear tighter. "That's him," she whispered. "That's the man Mom went with." Jack's expression hardened. "She says you're not her father." The man glared. "Kid's confused. Her mom's inside town getting supplies. I came to get her." But his story didn't line up. His voice shook, his clothes looked disheveled, and there was a strong smell of alcohol. Manny quietly stepped to Emily's side, keeping her behind him. Jack's tone dropped low and cold. "If you're really family, you won't mind waiting for the sheriff. He's on his way." The man's eyes widened, and he took a step back. "The sheriff?" "Yeah," Jack said firmly. "So we can clear this up like decent people." Without another word, the man spun around and ran to his truck. The engine roared to life, and before anyone could react, he sped off down the highway, tires screeching. Diesel cursed. "He's running." Jack's instincts kicked in. "Manny, stay with the kid. The rest of you." On the bikes, the roar of engines filled the air as 4 Harleys shot down the road, chasing the truck. The man swerved, trying to lose them. But he didn't stand a chance against men who lived on asphalt. They caught up within minutes. Jack rode beside the truck, motioning for him to pull over. Instead, the man leaned out the window, shouting curses. Then the truck hit a bump, and a bag flew out of the bed, spilling clothes, a woman's purse, and a phone onto the road. They stopped immediately. Diesel jumped off and picked up the purse. It had blood on it. When the sheriff finally arrived, things moved fast. Emily's mother, Sarah, was found just a few miles away in an abandoned motel room. She'd been beaten but alive, terrified and weak. She told officers everything. The man was her boyfriend, abusive, and had tried to run off with her daughter after she refused to leave town with him. If it hadn't been for the bikers, she might have never been found. Later that evening, after the sheriff took Sarah and Emily to the hospital, the bikers stood by their bikes, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. Manny wiped his face with his bandana. "Man, I didn't expect today to turn into that." Jack nodded slowly. "You never know when you'll ride into someone else's storm." 2 days later, Jack got a call from the sheriff. Sarah and Emily were safe, recovering at a local shelter. They wanted to thank the men who'd saved them. The Iron Vows rode back into town the following weekend. When they pulled into the hospital parking lot, Emily ran up to them, her little arms clutching that same teddy bear, now washed and sewn up. She looked clean, smiling for the first time. She handed Jack a small crayon drawing, 6 motorcycles parked beside a gas station, and a little girl holding a teddy bear in the middle. Above it, she had written in shaky letters, "My angels on wheels." Jack swallowed hard, his voice rough. "You keep that spirit, kiddo. The world needs more of it." Sarah hugged him tightly. "You saved my daughter's life and mine. I'll never forget that." Jack looked down at Emily and smiled. "Neither will we." When they rode off that afternoon, the wind in their faces, none of them spoke. They didn't need to. The memory of that little girl's smile was enough to stay with them forever. For years passed. The Iron Vows continued their charity rides, but there was always a small sticker on each of their bikes, a pink teddy bear with one missing eye. Their silent reminder of the day when they learned that true strength isn't in the roar of an engine, but in the courage to stop and listen to a child's cry. One act of compassion had changed 6 lives that day, maybe more. And somewhere out there, a little girl named Emily grew up believing that angels didn't always have wings. Sometimes they rode motorcycles. If this story touched your heart, hit the like button, share it with someone who still believes in kindness, and subscribe for more emotional, real life stories that restore faith in humanity. And before you go, tell us in the comments, from which part of the country are you watching this video? Let's see how far compassion can travel, because even the smallest act of kindness can echo forever.